Welcome to the first episode of this brand new series where we're doing a motor swap in Granda. Now this is actually happening sooner than I thought because I was going to try and build a motor over the winter. However, one of the head gaskets is starting to blow. The car overheats with the AC on. It's expected the car has 194,000 miles with no head gaskets done, nothing done to it. Besides I did a timing belt and water pump. So what this series is going to entail is going to be us building a motor and then swapping it into Granda. And in this episode, we're going to pick up a block and crankshaft, which we got to grab Pickle Rick to go do. The plans for the motor build are to do an EJ257 short block with 255 WRX heads because the WRX heads flow better than the STI heads. Then we're going to do like an STI up pipe, an STI turbo with a billet wheel, and we're going to do a full custom exhaust. And it's going to be pretty much basic bolt-ons, no really built internals, but I mean, I guess we'll see where it takes us. While we're driving there, I want to give you guys a little bit more information on how to do the motor swap and everything in a Forester, and it's actually going to surprise the hell out of you. So the 2001 and 2002 Foresters, the manual ones, and I'm sure all manual Foresters have this, they all share the same transmission as the WRX and the same motor mounts. They're essentially the same chassis with some different suspension and different bodies. Now, what this means is I can buy a motor or put together a motor either way. You can get a motor and then you can get a clutch and flywheel because a stock compressor clutch and flywheel is not going to handle any sort of power with a turbo. And then you get a wiring harness for the motor and an ECU. And funny enough, the wiring harness in the cabin has a plug in the fender area that goes to the wiring harness for the motor, and the plug on the Impreza 2.5i motors and the WRX motors is the same. So it's literally plug and play. I don't have to do any sort of wiring difference with the cabin wiring. And same with the ECU. The ECU plugs for the Impreza ECU and the WRX ECU are the exact same. So you just plug in an ECU, plug in the motor with one plug, put a motor in with a new clutch and flywheel, and the car will turnkey start. It's probably a little simpler than it's gonna be because with my luck, doing anything car related absolutely goes horribly wrong. But in theory, that's how simple it should be. Enough of me yapping, let's go get this motor. So this is what we picked up. We have one half of the block, the other half of the block, and the crankshaft. These parts are out of a 2019 STI that had 10,000 miles on it when a cam bearing spun. He said it was either a cam bearing or a rod bearing. If it's a rod bearing, that means the crank is probably not usable. If it's a cam bearing, this is completely fine. The reason why he doesn't know is the kid I bought it from is a friend of mine, and he bought it from another guy, and he was the guy that had the car blow up, and he couldn't remember, and because it was a warranty job, the car had 10,000 miles on it, but even a 2003 or 2004 STI and a 2019 STI have the exact same engine. Only difference is these cranks in the new STIs are forged way better than the older STIs, and these are the strong ones that you want. You can see that there's this coloration in it. That's what you want to see on it. Now, there's a little bit of surface rust because they've been sitting in a garage. They did have saran wrap on them, which was smart, but they'll have to be cleaned up, obviously. And then the block and the sleeves, the cross hatching looks super good. Like I said, there's still some surface rust. It's gonna have to be cleaned out, but there's no deep grooves. It's all smooth. You can see the cross hatching is still good. I'm trying to get it on camera if I can, as best as I can. But the block is for sure good. And the crank, we'll have to go get it looked at to make sure that it's good or not, because like I said, he didn't remember if it was a rod bearing or a cam bearing. But believe it or not, I paid 150 bucks for all of this. So even if the crank is bad, 150 bucks for 10,000 miles on an STI block is a steal. If the crank is good, I just won the lottery pretty much. This is such a good deal. So that's where we're going to end episode 1 of doing the motor build. This series is going to consist of me buying parts and putting this motor together in my garage, hopefully. I would really like to do the whole swap in my garage because of how easy it's supposed to be. Obviously, swapping a motor is not easy, but compared to other motor swaps like the RB, this is supposed to be way easier. So my whole plan is to just slowly buy parts. I will need to get an engine stand to put the engine together and put it on an engine stand. That's just the plan. I'm going to buy parts and slowly build the motor until we have a full motor, clutch, ECU wiring. And I'm also have to do a hood scoop like I said. which it's going to be an O2 bug-eye hood scoop on it, is what the SF5 Foresters, the boosted ones in Japan have, so that's what we're going to throw on there. Next thing up, I think, is getting an engine stand and then buying some more parts for this to get it all, start putting all of it together. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you're stoked about this as I am, click the like button, subscribe to this so we can go through this journey together. If you don't already know, this is my RB25 big turbo swapped S14. That's the Forester that we're swapping. And then I also have a Jeep Cherokee that's not here because my girlfriend's using it. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks, guys.